was a mistake in itself, in the sense of I literally sat at a table with a white boy who is disgusted of my existence.
You're wonderful.
Welcome to the Dark Times channel. So here we go again, back with another one. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button before I get started. And if you're not new to the channel and you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me as well. And so let's go ahead and get into it. I posted a video the other day about the Fresh and Fit podcast featuring Nick Fuentes and a room full of so-called black women. And I talked about just how comfortable a lot of these women were. A little bit too comfortable.
2 hours. Come on, Nick. What you got?
And then it got worse. Just when you thought it couldn't possibly get any worse than Nick Fuentes being encouraged to say the N-word with a room full of black women, a room full of so-called black women. And truth be told, from what I'm hearing, most of those women in that room aren't from here, aren't originally from the United States. But I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. And so just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Myron, the host from Fresh and Fit, came out of nowhere with a sheet over his head with some holes in it.
What is the point, Myron? What is the point?
And nobody got up from the table. Not one black woman got up from the table and removed themselves. And only one person actually said something. One person questioned Myra. She had a problem with it. But she didn't remove herself. And so, like I said, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, these women, these black women, so-called black women, allowed themselves to be disrespected even further, and nobody got up. And so the lady that I posted in the beginning, I believe she's actually one of the few women on there that is actually a so-called black American. She's actually from here. And somebody correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong, but I believe she's actually one of the few women that's actually from here. And she put out a video the other day apologizing for her actions. And it's interesting because in my video that I posted the other day, I talked about family and I talked about the circles that these people run in and how they shouldn't feel comfortable coming around their family. They shouldn't feel comfortable coming around the community in general. They should be shamed. There should be a level of shame and consequences for their actions. And so coincidentally, she said her brother actually checked her. Her brother was one of the first people to check her in regards to her actions or non-action on Fresh and Fit, allowing herself to be disrespected. But I'm gonna go ahead and let her give her take, and then of course I'll come back and chime in.
So this live is addressing the photo that I took with Nick. This would be my third time on the show, and the first 2 times it was about relationships. You get what I'm saying? Men versus women, I'll say that. So that's what my mind, I miss you too. That's what my mind was on. That's what I was prepared for. I was prepared to go in and, defend myself as a woman, because that's usually what you have to do when you go on that show. Unfortunately, that's not what happened this time. So like I said yesterday when I was trying to do this live, that 5 or 10 minutes before the show, we see Nick and we confused because we're like, why is this white boy here? We don't even know who Nick is. We never heard of Nick, any of that. My mistake is not questioning it when not using my discernment. That was my mistake.
No, your first mistake was even going on the show. That was your first mistake. And she said this is her 3rd time, I believe. This is her 3rd time being on the Fresh and Fit podcast. And so if you don't know by now what Fresh and Fit is all about, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. The Fresh and Fit podcast, the so-called red pill guys. And I need to do a video on the whole red pill community. We need to go ahead and put a stop to all that BS as soon as possible. It's not good for the young so-called black men coming up. And I can understand why a lot of young black men might gravitate toward that red pill community, especially living in the times that we live in. But the spirit of the whole red community is really coming from a simp place. It's really coming from a simp subculture within that red pill community. You know, a lot of these guys that spend their time trying to devalue women are the same guys that didn't have a mouthpiece growing up, didn't have a mouthpiece in high school, didn't know how to talk to women, couldn't get laid with a donkey dick. You know, these kind of dudes, incels. And so they're coming at it from a whole nother place. They're coming at it with a vitriol towards women and a disrespect towards women, black women in general, all because they didn't have the mouthpiece to approach a woman, to be able to talk to a woman, to know how to communicate with a woman in order to get that cooperation that they wanted to get. And so when they started to get a little bit of money, a certain kind of woman gravitated towards them and they were able to get access. And so the same women that these guys are now tricking off money on, these are the same women that they bring on their platforms to degrade. That's a simp mentality. But like I said, I think I'm gonna have to do a whole separate upload about the red pill community. But back to what she said. She said her first mistake wasn't asking questions. No, your first mistake was going on a show that degraded women. In particular, black women. From the clips that I've seen black woman after black woman being verbally mistreated and verbally degraded. But you really can't be too mad at Fresh and Fit. They're pretty much proving their point. They can dangle a few dollars in front of you and you'll sign up to be publicly humiliated and degraded. The Fresh and Fit podcast is pretty much a verbal ghetto gagging session. If you think about it, where you have these so-called brown and black women signing up and allowing themselves to be publicly humiliated for $1. The only difference is their clothes are on for the most part. That's the only difference between Fresh and Fit and ghetto gaggers. It's the same BS. And so I'm gonna let it continue.
My mistake was not asking questions and just not putting things together because I was excited to be on the show, because I was mentally prepared to talk my shit, but not about politics. I'm not a politician. It's terms that y'all are using against me that I don't even know. But I learned yesterday that YT equals white. It's just things that it was my bad. I shouldn't even been there, but I was there. And because I'm not a person to run away from things, as y'all can see, because you know I pop back. But we gonna address that later. I just was like, I'ma see what I could do. I am from Germany. I'm a white guy, and please, if you do not indoctrinate, if you got indoctrinated by an option of a television show, these people that really deserve to be angry on, this is one that made a upcoming black girl into trouble. Okay, but why did you kiss him? Honestly, because that was my mistake too, because I wasn't thinking about, if I post this, the backlash that I was gonna get.
And so before I saw this particular video, and I saw this so-called black woman kissing Nick Fuentes, right off the top of my head, I assumed that was prior to the show. I was assuming that happened before she even knew who Nick Fuentes was. I was kind of giving her the benefit of the doubt. But after hearing her talk and hearing her say that they didn't even know Nick Fuentes, they didn't meet him before the show started. I think he got there 5 minutes before. And based on her response, this kiss happened after everything took place. After he sat on that panel and shared his white supremacist views. After he dropped the N-bomb with the hard ER. That kiss came afterwards. And so we have to ask ourselves, why did she kiss Nick Fuentes? First of all, why would you kiss anybody for that matter? You don't even know this man, and you put your lips on him? Those lips are reserved for somebody you know. You kiss your father on the cheek. You kiss your brother on the cheek. You kiss your husband on the cheek, your lover, or whatever the case may be. But you for damn sure don't sit up here and kiss a white man that you don't even know on the cheek, even if she had no idea that he was a hardcore card-carrying white supremacist. Even if she had no idea, she has no business putting her lips on this dude. But the fact that she did know who he was, and she still proceeded to give him a kiss to get some clout, to get some more views, or whatever the case may be. She did it for a reason. And the excuse that she used was that she didn't know that she was going to be getting this amount of backlash for it. And this is where her brother chimed in. This is where a so-called black man and her brother chimed in and had to check her.
I had a conversation with my brother who definitely brought me down to size and made me understand that I represent everybody because I represent all black people because I'm a black woman. I'm a black woman. So I represent black people everywhere the fuck I go. Maybe he was just like, no. I represent black people everywhere the fuck I go, and not understanding that I am the face. It doesn't matter if I want to be the face. I'm responsible. I have to be responsible. And in this moment, I just wasn't. I wasn't responsible. I didn't think about responsibility. I didn't think about if this was going to have an effect or backlash on my community, how my community felt about it. None of that. Even being in it, it was just like being in a twilight zone. I wasn't even articulating the way that I normally would. Like, it was an ambush. It was to make us look stupid. It was to make us look bad, and I looked stupid. Like, and I don't like I don't like that. So the plot was to get us in this round table to make us all look stupid because we had no idea what we were going to be talking about in the first place. Did any of us ask? No. Kissing him on the cheek was a mistake in itself, in the sense of I literally sat at a table with a white boy who is disgusted of my existence, and then I take a photo with him laughing and smiling and kikiing. That was dumb. That was stupid. That was dumb as fuck. That was a dumb as fuck moment. The fact that I understand that you all feel like I don't deserve your grace, because I should have been smarter than that, because I look smarter than that, and I was just being my gloating self. And like I said, I wasn't because my pure existence make him uncomfortable. It was like, what you gonna do, bruh? Because you really not gonna do nothing. All this shit you popping, you ain't pop in the front of us. To me, because to me, he now in realization, he's one of the white supremacists that it ain't up front and out with it. It's in intellect, or whatever you want to. It's in his intellect.
And so that last statement that she made, she said a lot. The fact that she didn't know that it's 2023, and aside from fresh and fit, people aren't going around wearing hoodies with holes in them anymore. It's all been intellectualized, and it's been like that for quite some time. I would probably say it's been like that since the Civil Rights Bill passed, and it was no longer legal to discriminate against so-called black people, Native Americans, and Hispanics. It was no longer legal to do so. That's when a lot of so-called white people started getting on code and intellectualizing their racism.
Politics. You said a white nationalist is an American.
It is identity politics.
You said a white nationalist is an American, but a white nationalist is someone who believes horrific things. Do you really think that's someone who should be serving in the military?
Well, that's just a name that has been given. I mean,
it's not.
Listen,
It's a real definition. There's real concerns
so if
about
you're going to do away
extremism.
with most white people in this country out of the military, we got huge problems.
It's not.
We got huge problems.
It's not people who are white. It's white nationalists.
That have a few probably
you see the
different
distinction,
beliefs.
right?
But there's a lot of people that believe in different things.
Is racist, Senator.
Well, that's your opinion. That's your opinion.
And so these are things, and this is something that this so-called black woman should have known. This is something that should have been taught within the household. And apparently it wasn't taught, or if it was taught, it wasn't taught well enough. And so we can use this as a learning lesson. And so the sister spoke about forgiveness. Our hands are tied. What are we going to do? Forgiveness is not ours to give. The people on the internet really don't matter unless that's your livelihood. Well, if it is her livelihood, well, then that's another conversation that needs to be had. She's going to have to redeem herself somehow. And I'll say it's a step in the right direction if she is indeed trying to win back her audience, if she indeed does have a platform on social media somewhere. It's a step in the right direction at trying to get her audience back. She was very candid and she spoke very honestly and openly, and so I can respect that. And she really didn't have too many excuses besides the lack of understanding. which some say is not an excuse at all. What's the old saying? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. But I definitely give this sister some credit. But shout out to her brother. Shout out to her big brother coming through and doing a little straightening. And that's what you got to do. That's what family's for. We all fall short. We all have moments of shame. But that's what family and friends are for. You're supposed to be able to check your family. You're supposed to be able to check your friends and let them know where they're falling short so they can try to get back on the right path. And so hopefully that's the last of this sister that we see on the Fresh and Fit show. Hopefully, and that's a big hope, hopefully nobody will go on the Fresh and Fit show. At least no person of color, especially indigenous Americans and so-called Black Americans. That's a big hope. Everybody's got bills to pay now. Everybody's got a price. And truth be told, a lot of people that go on this show, I'm not even sure if they get paid anything. A lot of people just want clout. A lot of people just want recognition, something to post on their timeline or their Instagram and to get notoriety. And because they've made recognition and getting clout just as good as cash, what we have now is an endless supply of people that will do anything to get it. Because they know once they get it, once they get that recognition and once people know who they are, it's an endless supply of viewership. It's an endless supply of being able to capitalize on making content. And that's why you have a lot of OnlyFans going on there. You have a lot of people that will literally do anything in front of a camera if it makes a buck. But what are you going to do? When it comes down to it, people like Fresh and Fit are always going to find one or two. I guess the only thing that you can do is hope that it's not you. Hope that it's not you that doesn't have any dignity, morals, and standards. So all you can do, I guess, is control you. And so I think that's going to be a good spot to go ahead and shut down. Make sure you guys drop a like and also make sure you drop a comment in the comment section. And if you're not new to the channel and you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me as well. And as usual, peace and chaos.